I've been a professional dog walker for about 3 years now, and I thought I'd seen it all. Dogs that bite, owners who don't pay, getting caught in bad weather. But nothing, and I mean nothing, prepared me for what happened with a client I'll call Mrs. Patterson. It started in late September when I got a new booking through Rover. The client had great reviews from other walkers in different cities, which was my first green flag when accepting new clients. The house was in Brookhaven Estates, this really upscale neighborhood where all the houses are set back from the road with long driveways and tall privacy hedges. The instructions were pretty straightforward. Use the lockbox on the front porch for the key. Code is 7249. Buddy will be in the backyard. He's a golden retriever, very friendly. Please walk him for 45 minutes. Do not go upstairs. I work from home and take important calls. That last part was in all caps, which seemed a little intense, but honestly, some clients are weird about their privacy. I've had people with home offices who don't want to be disturbed, so I didn't think much of it. The first week went perfectly. Monday through Friday at 1 p.m., I'd pull up to the house, punch in the code, grab the key, and let myself in through the front door. The house was beautiful inside, really modern, lots of white furniture, hardwood floors, everything spotless. I'd walk straight through to the kitchen and out the back sliding door where Buddy would be waiting, tail wagging like crazy. He was the sweetest dog, maybe 4 or 5 years old, perfectly trained. We'd do a loop around the neighborhood, he'd do his business, and I'd bring him back, leave him in the backyard with fresh water, lock up, and that was that. I never saw Mrs. Patterson, never heard her either, even though her car was always in the garage. The checks came through the app on time. Easy money. Week 2 started the same way. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, all normal. But Thursday, something felt different the moment I opened that back door. Buddy didn't come running like usual. I found him in the far corner of the yard, pressed up against the fence, staring at the house. When I called him, he looked at me but didn't move. I had to walk over and physically guide him by the collar, which I'd never had to do before. The whole walk, he kept looking back at the house. He was pulling on the leash, which again, he never did. Not pulling forward to smell things like dogs usually do, but pulling back, like he didn't want to leave the street. Like he wanted to keep going and not return. When we got back to the house, Buddy planted his feet at the back door. Refused to go in. I'm talking full-on resistance, legs locked, making this low whining sound in his throat. I felt terrible, but I had to basically drag him inside and close the door quickly. As I was locking up the front door, I swear I heard footsteps upstairs. Heavy footsteps, walking across the floor directly above me. I froze with my hand on the doorknob. I remembered the instruction, do not go upstairs. I told myself it was Mrs. Patterson, had to be. Maybe she was just getting up from her desk. The footsteps stopped. I left. Friday of week 3 is when everything went wrong. I pulled up to the house at the usual time. Something felt off immediately. The front door was slightly open. Not wide open, but cracked, like someone had closed it but it hadn't latched. The lockbox was hanging open too, swinging slightly in the breeze. I stood on that porch for a solid minute trying to decide what to do. I called out Mrs. Patterson. No answer. I texted the client through the app. Hi, front door is open. Just want to make sure everything is okay before I come in. No response. I pushed the door open slowly. Hello, it's Kelly, Buddy's walker. Nothing. The house was silent, but it was 1 p.m. on a Friday. Mrs. Patterson's car was in the garage like always, and I had a job to do. I walked through the living room toward the kitchen. That's when I heard it. Footsteps upstairs, not directly above me this time, but moving from one end of the house to the other. Slow, deliberate steps. Then they stopped. And then they started coming down the stairs. I should have left, I know that now. But I was frozen, staring at the staircase that came down into the foyer near the front door. The steps were getting closer, closer. A man appeared at the bottom of the stairs. Not a woman, a man, maybe mid-40s, wearing jeans and a gray hoodie, barefoot. He looked just as surprised to see me as I was to see him. "Who are you?" I asked, my voice shaking. I'm house-sitting for Lisa," he said. "Lisa, that must be Mrs. Patterson's first name. Are you the dog walker?" "Yeah, the door was open." "Oh, sorry, I must not have closed it all the way when I went out to check the mail." He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Buddy's out back. You can go ahead and take him." Something was wrong. Everything about this felt wrong. But I didn't know what to say, so I just nodded and headed toward the kitchen. As I was sliding open the back door, I heard him walking up the stairs again. I looked over my shoulder and saw him stop on the landing, just standing there, watching me. I got Buddy out of the yard. He was still acting weird, reluctant, and we started our walk. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold the leash. About 10 minutes in, I pulled out my phone and sent a message to Mrs. Patterson through the app. "Hi, just wanted to confirm. Is there someone house-sitting for you?" A man in a gray hoodie answered when I arrived today. I watched those 3 dots appear immediately. She was typing. The message came through. "What? No, I'm on vacation in Barcelona. I've been here for 10 days. There shouldn't be anyone in my house. Who is in my house?" My stomach dropped. I stopped walking. Buddy sat down and looked up at me. I typed back with trembling fingers. "A man, mid-40s, gray hoodie. He's upstairs right now. He said he was house-sitting for you. Call the police. Now, get my dog out of there and call 911. I'm calling them too." I didn't go back to the house. I couldn't. I stood at the end of the street with Buddy and called 911, explaining the situation as calmly as I could. The dispatcher told me to stay where I was and keep the dog with me. 3 police cars showed up within 5 minutes. I watched from the corner as they surrounded the house, saw them go in with their weapons drawn. 20 minutes later, 2 officers walked out with a man in handcuffs. He wasn't struggling. Didn't look scared or angry, he just looked blank, like this was a minor inconvenience. One of the officers came over to talk to me, asked me questions about the past 3 weeks, what I'd seen, what I'd heard. I told him everything, the footsteps, Buddy's behavior, the open door. The officer's expression got darker as I talked. Finally he said, "How long did you say this has been going on?" 3 weeks. I've been coming Monday through Friday." He nodded slowly. "We found evidence that someone's been living in that house for at least 2 months. The upstairs bedroom, the one the owner told you not to go in, it's set up like someone's been staying there full time. Clothes in the closet, food in a mini fridge, toiletries in the bathroom. He'd been tracking the owner's vacation schedule through her social media, knew exactly when she'd be gone. Mrs. Patterson flew back early from her trip. She thanked me for calling the police and gave me a massive tip, but I could tell she felt violated. Her home, the place where she was supposed to feel safe, had been occupied by a stranger for months. She asked me if I'd continue walking Buddy, said he really liked me. I said yes, but I'd be lying if I said I'm not nervous every single time I use that lockbox now. The worst part, the police told Mrs. Patterson that the man had been upstairs the entire time during my previous walks. All those times I heard footsteps, all those times Buddy was acting strange. He was up there, listening to me walk through the house, watching me through the windows as I left. And I'll never forget what the officer told me before I left that day. "You're lucky you always followed the instruction not to go upstairs. We don't know what he would have done if you discovered him." I still see Buddy 3 times a week. He's back to his normal, happy self now. But every time I walk into that house, I look at those stairs. And I never, ever go up. I need to tell you about something that happened to me last month that made me question whether I should even continue dog walking. I'm still shaking just thinking about it. I have this regular client named Mr. Chen who has the cutest beagle named Daisy. I walk her every Tuesday and Thursday at 4 p.m., same route every time. We live in a pretty typical suburban area. Lots of houses built in the 80s and 90s, big trees, quiet streets. The route I take goes past this one house that's been abandoned for as long as I've lived here. It's at the end of Maple Street, set way back from the road. The yard is completely overgrown, windows are boarded up, and there's a chain link fence around the property that's falling apart in places. I'd heard it was involved in some legal battle between family members after the owner died, which is why it's been sitting empty for years. Daisy always got weird when we passed that house. She'd pull toward it, whining, hackles up. At first I thought maybe there was a cat or a raccoon she was smelling, but it happened every single time without fail. For the first few months, I'd just pull her along and distract her with treats. But over time, she got more and more agitated. We're talking full-on lunging at the fence, barking frantically, that high-pitched beagle howl that goes right through you. Mr. Chen mentioned it too. He said she'd been having nightmares, waking up in the middle of the night barking at nothing. He thought maybe she was getting sick, wanted to take her to the vet. Then one Thursday in October, everything changed. We were walking past the abandoned house, and as usual, Daisy started pulling. But this time, before I could redirect her, she jerked the leash right out of my hand. I'm not a small person. I'm 59 and I work out, but she yanked it so hard it burned my palm. Daisy took off running, straight toward the house. She squeezed through a gap in the fence and ran up to the front porch, barking like crazy. "Daisy, come here girl, treats." Nothing I said made a difference. She ran around to the side of the house and disappeared from view. I had no choice. I couldn't leave a client's dog in an abandoned house. I called Mr. Chen while I was climbing through the fence gap, told him what happened and that I was going to get her. The front door was hanging partially off its hinges. I pushed it open, calling Daisy's name. The inside was exactly what you'd expect. Water damage on the ceiling, holes in the walls, trash everywhere, graffiti. It smelled like mold and rot. I could hear Daisy somewhere deeper in the house, still barking. I followed the sound through a disgusting kitchen, sink full of black water, cabinets hanging open, and toward what looked like a basement door. The door was open. Daisy was at the top of the stairs, looking down into the darkness, barking her head off. "Daisy, come on girl, let's go." I reached for her collar, but she dodged me and started going down the stairs. I turned on my phone flashlight and followed her down. The stairs were wooden and creaky, and I was genuinely afraid they might collapse under me. The basement was unfinished, concrete floor, exposed pipes, support beams. And Daisy was sitting in the middle of it, staring at another door. This door was different from everything else in the house. It was newer metal, and it had a padlock on it. But the padlock was on the outside, like it was meant to keep something in. I walked closer. Daisy was completely focused on that door, tail tucked, body rigid. That's when I heard it. Scratching coming from the other side of the door. Not like an animal scratching, like fingernails on metal. Slow, deliberate. And then a voice, weak, hoarse, barely audible, "Help, please, help me." I dropped my phone. The flashlight beam went crazy, spinning across the floor. When I grabbed it again, my hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold it. "Hello," I called out. "Are you okay? I'm going to call 911. The scratching got more frantic. The voice spoke again, louder this time. "He locked me down here. Please. Been here so long, can't remember." I was already dialing 911. My voice was shaking as I told the dispatcher there was someone trapped in a basement at the abandoned house on Maple Street. She told me to get out of the house immediately and wait for police. I scooped up Daisy and ran. I waited at the end of the driveway, holding Daisy, watching police cars and an ambulance arrive. They went in with crowbars and flashlights. 15 minutes later, they brought someone out on a stretcher. I couldn't see much from where I was standing, but I could tell it was a woman. She was conscious, moving, talking to the paramedics. A detective came over to talk to me, asked me a bunch of questions about how I found her, if I'd seen anyone else, if I'd been in the house before. Then he told me something that still gives me nightmares. The woman they found was named Sarah Mitchell. She'd been reported missing 2 years ago. 2 years. She'd been locked in that basement for 2 years. The person who took her was her ex-boyfriend. He'd owned the house before he died 8 months ago in a car accident. When he died, Sarah was just left down there, forgotten. She'd survived on rainwater dripping through the foundation and some old canned goods he'd left. The detective told me that if I hadn't gone in that day, Sarah probably wouldn't have survived much longer. She was severely malnourished, dehydrated, suffering from infections. But she was alive. Mr. Chen was waiting at the end of the street when I finally walked back with Daisy. He'd heard all the sirens. When I told him what happened, he just hugged his dog and started crying. Sarah made a full recovery, physically at least. I know because she reached out to me through Facebook a month later. She wanted to meet Daisy to thank her. We met at a coffee shop. Sarah still looked fragile, but she was smiling. She kept petting Daisy, tears running down her face, saying, "You found me. You didn't give up. You found me." I still walk Daisy every Tuesday and Thursday, but we take a different route now. Mr. Chen insisted, and honestly, I can't bring myself to walk past that house anymore. Sometimes I wonder what made Daisy so obsessed with that place. Could she smell Sarah, hear her? Or was it something else, something we can't explain? I don't know. All I know is that I trust dogs more than I ever have before. And if a dog you're walking is trying to tell you something, listen. They might be trying to save someone's life. I'm going to tell you about why I quit dog walking, why I moved cities, why I changed my phone number and deleted all my social media, and why I still check behind me when I'm walking down the street. For context, I used to walk dogs in the early morning before most people went to work. My first client of the day was always at 6 a.m., a lawyer named Dr. Rodriguez who had 2 French bulldogs, Machi and Boba. Super cute dogs, easy walk, good pay. My route took us through Riverside Park, which at 6 a.m. was pretty much empty except for a few joggers. There was this one bench right by the fountain, good view of the sunrise, and there was always this old woman sitting there. Always. Every single morning at 6 a.m. there she was. She had to be in her 70s, always wearing the same purple windbreaker, white hair pulled back in a bun. She'd smile and wave as I walked past with the dogs. Sometimes she'd say, "Good morning," in this sweet, grandmotherly voice. After a few weeks, I started waving back, making small talk. "Beautiful morning. Supposed to rain later." Nothing deep, just pleasantries. Her name was Margaret. At least, that's what she told me. It was mid-November when I started noticing something weird. I'm not always the most punctual person. Sometimes I'd be running 5 minutes late, sometimes 10 minutes early depending on traffic. My schedule wasn't consistent. But Margaret was always there. Didn't matter if I showed up at 5:50 or 6:15. She was always sitting on that bench in the same position, like she'd been waiting specifically for me. One morning I decided to test it. I showed up at 5:30, a full 30 minutes early. The park was dark, barely anyone around. Margaret was on the bench. Same purple windbreaker, same smile she waved. "You're early today," she called out cheerfully. I waved back, but my skin was crawling. How did she know I was early? How did she know my schedule at all? The next day I came at 6:45, 45 minutes late because of an appointment. Margaret was there, not looking impatient or like she'd been waiting, just sitting there like she'd appeared the moment I arrived. "Running late today," she said with that same smile. I started changing my route after that. Instead of going through Riverside Park, I take the dogs to Greenfield Park on the other side of town. Completely different area, miles away. First morning at Greenfield, I was walking past the playground when I saw her. Margaret, same bench, well, a different bench, but the same position. Purple windbreaker, bun, smile and wave. My blood went cold. "Margaret," I called out, "what are you doing here?" "I always sit here in the mornings," she said, like it was the most natural thing in the world. "Beautiful park, isn't it?" I grabbed the dogs and got out of there fast. My heart was pounding. I called my boyfriend, told him what happened. He said maybe she lived nearby, maybe it was just a coincidence. But I knew it wasn't. The next day, I drove to a completely different neighborhood, 30 minutes away, to a park I'd never been to before. I didn't tell anyone where I was going. I left my phone in the car, paranoid that somehow I was being tracked. I walked the dogs around the lake, thinking I was safe. And there she was, different bench, same everything else. This time she didn't wave, she just watched me, smiling. I turned around and ran. That evening, I was home alone. Dr. Rodriguez had texted asking if everything was okay because I'd brought the dogs back early and seemed upset. I didn't know what to tell her. At 7 p.m., there was a knock at my apartment door. I looked through the peephole. Margaret was standing in my hallway. I didn't open the door. "What do you want?" I shouted through it. "You forgot to walk past me today," she said in that sweet voice. "You ran away. Why did you run away? How do you know where I live? How are you doing this?" "You're always so punctual," she said, ignoring my question. "Such a dedicated dog walker. I admire that about you. We're very much alike, you and I." "We're nothing alike. Leave me alone." There was a long pause. Then, "I can't do that. I've been watching you for so long now. You're special. You don't even realize it yet." I called the police, stayed on the phone with 911 while they sent a unit. But when the officers arrived and I opened the door, Margaret was gone. The officers checked the hallway, checked the security footage from the building. Nothing. No one had entered or exited. But I know what I saw. The final straw came 3 days later. I had stopped walking Dr. Rodriguez's dogs, stopped walking dogs entirely. I was too afraid to leave my apartment. I was lying in bed at 2 a.m., scrolling through my phone when I got a notification. Someone had tagged me in a Facebook photo. It was a picture of me sleeping, in my bed, taken from the angle of my bedroom doorway. Posted by an account with no profile picture. The name was just M. The caption said, "Sweet dreams, see you at 6 a.m. I screamed, grabbed my keys, my wallet, got in my car and drove to my boyfriend's place. Didn't stop shaking long enough to explain until the sun came up. We went to the police again, showed them the photo, but there was nothing they could do, no signs of forced entry, no footage, no evidence of who M was. My boyfriend convinced me to move in with him temporarily. A week later, we moved to a different state. I changed my number, deleted all social media, started over. That was 8 months ago. I haven't seen Margaret since, but sometimes when I'm walking down the street and I pass someone sitting on a bench, I feel eyes on me. And I just know somehow, somewhere, she's still watching. still waiting for me to walk past. I don't walk dogs anymore. I don't even like going to parks. And if you're a dog walker reading this, please pay attention to the people you see regularly on your routes. If someone's always there, no matter what time you show up, no matter where you go, run. Don't ask questions. Don't try to be polite. Just run. Because some people aren't sitting on benches waiting for the sunrise. They're waiting for you. If you enjoyed these stories, or if you're a dog walker with your own creepy experiences, let me know in the comments below. Hit that like button and subscribe for more true horror stories. And remember, trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, it probably is. Until next time, stay safe out there.